Elon Musk was mocked, dismissed, and dared to prove himself in public. What followed turned the entire story upside down and silenced the room. It all started on a podcast episode that nobody expected to go viral. The guest that day was Drew Carver, an indie folk singer from Seattle, known for his edgy opinions and clever remarks. He was midway through a story about performing at a nonprofit benefit when the host casually asked, "Ever bump into any big names backstage? Anyone from politics?" Drew chuckled, took a sip of his drink, and leaned toward the mic. "Yeah, actually. Elon Musk was at one of those gigs," he said with a smirk. "Nice guy, I guess, but seriously, he stared at the grand piano like it was a spaceship dashboard. I doubt the man could tell middle C from a Tesla tire." The room laughed. It was the kind of comment that hit just right with Drew's usual listeners, young, liberal, and skeptical of billionaires. Drew had made these kinds of digs before. Most people didn't take him seriously, but this time, the comment stuck. Within hours, clips of the moment flooded social media, trimmed and looped with captions like, "Drew roasts Musk with a musical jab," and, "Elon, do you even know what a piano is?" Elon didn't respond publicly. At his home in Austin, he was seated at his kitchen island when his teenage son sent him the clip, along with a laughing emoji. Elon watched the video once, then again. He didn't flinch, didn't sigh, didn't even frown. He calmly closed the clip and turned the phone face down on the table. His espresso had gone cold. But he didn't delete the message. Drew wasn't done either. A week later, in an interview with a San Francisco digital zine, he brought it up again. "He's smart in a genius inventor way, sure," Drew said, "but I doubt there's a single ounce of creativity in him. You can't just manufacture emotion. Art's either real or it isn't." This time, the tone shifted, from playful sarcasm to something sharper, more personal. Some fans still laughed. Others began to squirm. A few older listeners left comments like, "Come on, man," and "Just play the music." But Drew wasn't paying attention. He was preparing for a tour stop in Florida the next month, assuming the noise would fade by then. What he didn't realize was that Elon had just accepted a quiet invitation to attend a prestigious charity gala in Sarasota, the exact same event Drew had agreed to perform at. The fundraiser was for youth arts education, drawing a mix of celebrities, donors, and community leaders. Elon had no plans to speak or take the spotlight. He was simply attending as a quiet supporter, someone who preferred to contribute from the sidelines. He hadn't played in public for more than a decade. But something began to stir. Later that week, he stepped into a little-used guest room in his house, pulled the dust cover off a glossy black baby grand, and ran his fingers across the keys. The piano was slightly out of tune, stiff with neglect. He smiled faintly. Then he picked up his phone. "Hey, Kyle," he said, calling his old music tutor from college. "Still doing private lessons?" Meanwhile, Drew was busy promoting his upcoming shows. During a live radio spot in Clearwater, he laughed about Elon again. "Maybe he'll bring sheet music this time," he joked. "Or give us a surprise rendition of Chopsticks." What he didn't know was that Elon had been practicing daily. He'd already picked the piece. He had no plans to speak, just to play. And as the gala drew closer, not everyone would be laughing. The night of the Sarasota gala arrived, and not many expected anything unusual. Elon's name was quietly listed among the donors, not as a speaker or performer. No press announcement, no teaser. Just one name on a guest list filled with local leaders, philanthropists, and artists. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom shimmered beneath soft, golden lights. A grand Steinway stood off to the side, polished and untouched, more like elegant decor than an instrument. The theme of the evening was Arts for the Future, aimed at raising funds for school music programs. Elon walked in shortly after 7 p.m., dressed in a charcoal suit, no tie. No entourage, no press handler. He nodded politely to a few familiar faces, exchanged some quiet pleasantries, and moved toward the back of the room with a glass of sparkling water in hand. No one mentioned music. He didn't either. Across the ballroom, Drew Carver was already in full performer mode. Brown suede jacket, open collar, leaning over a cocktail table, laughing with a journalist and another local musician. He didn't see Elon at first, not until midway through the opening speeches. When he did, he raised his glass with a grin and strode over, voice loud enough for those nearby to catch. "Well, well," he said with a smirk. "The man of mystery himself. Didn't expect to see you here." Elon turned slowly, his face unreadable. "Drew," he said with a small nod. "Didn't know charity galas were your thing," Drew continued. "Especially ones with musical instruments involved." "They are," Elon replied calmly. "Especially when the cause matters." Drew raised an eyebrow. "Right. Music education and all that. Any closer to telling a Steinway from a coffee table?" A few people chuckled awkwardly. Elon didn't flinch. "Do you always talk like that at charity events?" he asked, tone even. "Just keeping it light," Drew said. "You've got a sense of humor, right?" Elon paused. "Sometimes." That could have been the end of it. But Drew, riding on wine and ego, gestured toward the grand piano. "How about it?" he said, trying to sound casual. "Prove me wrong. Play something, your pick." The room wasn't silent yet, but the shift in energy was unmistakable. A few heads turned. The woman handling the auction paused mid-keystroke. Elon glanced at the piano, then back at Drew. "I don't play for people who expect me to fail," he said quietly. "But I will play for the kids." And with that, he walked past him. No drama, no spectacle. Just calm, focused movement. Drew stood still, stunned. He hadn't expected a yes. Not really. He thought Elon would laugh it off or toss back a sarcastic line. But now Elon was speaking to the sound technician near the stage. The crowd began to gather, slowly but intentionally. Phones were raised, not like a frenzy, but like the audience sensed something unplanned and important was about to happen. Elon sat down at the piano. He adjusted the bench, placed both hands in his lap, and closed his eyes. He didn't speak to the crowd. Didn't look at Drew. Didn't say a word. Near the bar, Drew was frozen. A friend leaned toward him and whispered, "Dude, you might have messed up." He didn't answer. Because for the first time in years, he felt something rare. Doubt. Then Elon began to play. The opening notes of Clair de Lune floated through the ballroom, soft, fluid, aching. At first, people weren't sure it was real. The playing was too precise, too deliberate. Some thought it was a track. But then they noticed Elon's hands, moving, steady, emotional. This wasn't a stunt. This wasn't a flex. This was a man who had practiced, who had remembered, who had come prepared. Drew stood completely still, arms folded, jaw slack. He couldn't even place the piece at first. All he could register was the feeling, a melancholy rise and fall, like memory set to music. Elon's eyes remained closed. He wasn't performing. He was revisiting something buried deep. Something honest. Phones recorded, yes, but even the sound of shutters seemed to hush themselves. The room didn't want to break the moment. And Drew, he was remembering too. A small venue in San Francisco years ago. A cheap guitar, sweaty palms, nerves so bad he missed every other chord. But a stranger in the back had smiled anyway, swaying gently, as if she heard something worth holding on to. That feeling, the ache of being vulnerable, hit him again, harder now. Elon slowed, drawing the final note out into the air like a breath being released. Then silence. He opened his eyes, stood, and nodded softly to the technician. No bow. No smile. No statement. Just a man who had something to say, and said it without speaking. 10 full seconds passed before anyone moved. Then came the applause, rising from the center, building with weight. Not polite. Not performative. Real. Elon didn't acknowledge it. He returned to his seat, sipped his water, and looked straight ahead. Drew didn't go to him. Not yet. He stayed at the back, hand to his mouth, silent. "Are you okay?" his friend asked. He blinked. I think I just got humbled.